2010, I embarked upon a rather longer journey than normal from ALC, based here in the Cunning Valley, with 7 drops of aluminium lampposts, making my way up into the Midlands and then up into central Scotland. The DAF 105 480 you see in front of you, this was my lorry for best part of a year. Making my way south down the Afan Valley and then working my way east along the M4 corridor, then north east up towards Monmouth Ross on Wye, and then joining the M50 on Sunday evening. This is me leaving the yard now. Fairly hefty load you can see in front of you. Best part of 10 tonne of aluminium on the back of there. Slowly manoeuvring out the gates, making my way down into the village of Cummer before creeping down a very windy narrow road down into the valley and down into Port Talbot. As you can see, autumn's making its grip on the South Wales valleys. The leaves are changing. Just coming down into the suburbs of Port Talbot now. Famous core of steelworks at Port Talbot. Now onto the M4, heading east. Wasting no time, getting as far north as I can. Making my way up now the M50 into the Midlands. It's a straight run all the way then, once you hit the M5, up the M5, join the M6 at Birmingham. Straight run then up into the northwest of England. This particular run was to be one of mixed weather, heavy showers, sunshine, real autumnal, wild Scottish weather. Driving on into the evening now, making my way up into Cumbria for my first stop at Cockermouth rather. Making my way up through the T-Bay Valley here now. Before turning west from Penrith, across the 66 to Keswick and into Cockermouth for my first overnight stop. Dawn in Cockermouth. A beautiful morning, very very cold. First real cold of the winter to hit me that year. As you can see, the yellow peril there ready to go the next day. Beautiful sunrise over the lake. Over the lakes. Did a wash now in Amy's. This is the way in which I manage to get washed and shaved, collect my water as I go round when I'm tramping. You tend to borrow people's facilities as best you can. This is actually the mess room of Amy in Cockermouth. As you can see, one of the council diggers there, working eagerly around to get round the yard. Make our way northeast again now from Lilyhall in the Lake District, up through the 66 again, back over to join the M6 at Carlisle. As you can see, a very autumnal type day, beautiful autumnal sunshine, fantastic scenery in the northwest of the Lake District, this part of the Lake District here. Creeping up towards Carlisle, pick up the M6 and then the M74. This is me just entering Scotland. Welcome to Scotland. Beautiful sunny weather welcomes into the Scottish borders. Slowly making my way across the Beattock summit. Now into Glasgow, picking up the M73 and heading up to the first Scottish call at Cumbernauld. Amy Contractors just outside Cumbernauld. As you can see, that's the first load of the 10-metre lamp post been dropped off at Amy. On now to the second drop at Cooper in Fife, then back towards Perth. This is the view from the yard in Forfar. Now quickly make my way from Forfar across into Dunkeld, and down through the village of Blairgowrie. Coming down into the town of Blair Athol here, come down the banks of the River Athol. Look at the colours of these trees. This is typical, fantastic Scottish autumnal scenery here. Beautiful gold and browns, reds, rustic browns, just so typical of the Western Highlands at this time of year. Looking down the River Athol now. Look at those colours, and that's just fantastic. It's almost as good as New England in the States. Making my way quickly north now up the A9, up to meet the southern edge of the Grampian Mountains. And again, as I said earlier, the weather was typical Scottish autumnal weather. One minute it was howling, blowing a gale, and next minute it's sun shining. You can see heavy spray on the surface water on the road here after that heavy rain. Coming up into Drummochta Pass here now. You can see the rain in the hills. Fantastic scenery at this time of year. This is the route I took from Forfar across over towards Blair Athol, picking up the A9, skirting round the southern edge of the Grampian Mountains, then towards Aviemore, and up towards Inverness. Before doing my last but one call at Inverness. This is one of the many lochs that you see on the way up the Drummochta. Another illustration of the typical autumnal blustery weather that I was getting that day. 1 minute sunshine, next minute we get blazing sunshine with beautiful rainbows out in the distance there against a deep, dark, ominous looking sky. Just coming down into the city of Inverness now, the capital of the Highlands of Scotland. Making my way now into Highland Council's yard in Inverness, the southern edges of the city, to drop off the last but one call of the epic journey. You can see a small pack coming off there now. Highland Council is one of the largest local authorities in Britain. This is at Loch Ness, looking down towards Fort Augustus. Loch Ness been famous for the Loch Ness Monster. You see why people looking at these ominous images of Loch Ness at this time of year, it's easy to see why people believe in such things as Loch Ness Monster and serpents. This is Urquhart Castle, famous castle back in the place of the Loch Ness, just about 15 miles south of This is the famous 14 locks at Fort Augustus. This is where the Caledonian Canal is stepped up from Loch Ness. Very cold, wet, windy night looking down the main street of Fort Augustus here. Even in a night like this, it still holds a certain amount of appeal. Next morning, having had a night in Fort Augustus, This is me having a wander down the main track now. This is looking up the Seven Locks, which climb the Caledonian Canal up from sea level all the way up to about 1500 feet. Just crossing one of the swing bridges now, one of many that cross the Caledonian Canal, as winding the road south down towards Fort William. This is the Invergary part of the loch. And we're just about to peer into an ominous looking cave. This is the well of the Seven Heads. Legend has it that some clansmen killed 7 brothers for some particular feud or other. Coming down the side of Loch Lochy here, and you'll see a speck coming up, hurtling up the loch here. It's actually an RAF Harrier out on low level exercise, which you can see them do quite often in the Western Highlands. There he goes. Looking towards the Ben Nevis Massif now, just before we enter Fort William. This is Fort William now. Last call. After this, I'll be making my way down to Glasgow. That's the top of Ben Nevis. Unusually you can see the top of it today, but you see the beginning of the first dusting of snow there. First snows of the Scottish winter. Standing at 4,068 feet. Coming out of Highland Kiss Place now, making my way down through Fort William town itself. Coming down the side of Loch Linney here now. Just about to cross over and make my way up into the famous Pass of Glencoe. Glencoe is probably more famous for the massacre of Glencoe, when the Campbells were massacred in their beds on a cold, stormy December night. It's a long old climb in a lorry, making your way from sea level all the way up over the pass before dropping down onto the moor on the other side, going back down to the line now. You can see the pass ahead of us there, the saddle we've got to climb over, and on the other side of there is the Culloden Moor. These peaks that you see in front of us, some of the best climbing in Scotland. Inchbeig Reach in front of us here. This is some of the highest concentration of Munros, which is mountains over 3,000 feet, concentrated anywhere in Scotland here. It's very rugged, as you see. First snows of winter, definitely taking hold there on top of one of the Munros. This is us on the long straight now, just crossed the saddle, making our way down onto Rannoch Moor. A very desolate, open, huge part of Scotland here. Covering the best part of 50 square miles, this. Looking up towards Drumochter area of the Central Highlands where we came down before. This is the view in the top right hand corner where we were going up the previous day, up the A9. Looking back down now towards this Inchbeig on the left hand side, one of the many Munros in the massive of ridges around here. As you can see, more snow on the tops. First snows of the winter. Dropping down now off Rannoch Moor. Drop slowly down towards basically what is the Trossachs and Loch Lomond side, and then down into Glasgow. Coming into Crianlarich. A very wet, soggy Crianlarich. Not unusual for Crianlarich, the Western Highlands having some of the highest rainfall in the world. This is the northern end of Loch Lomond, the famous bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Unfortunately, the bonny banks aren't showing their true beauty today. This road, which is now the 82, takes us down Crane Larrick all the way down into the side of the River Clyde, across the Clyde and into Glasgow. This particular part of the road running down through Loch Lomond side is very narrow and very treacherous for lorries and cars alike, and during the summer months it can be a very frustrating road. Just stopped at the side of Loch Lomond now to have a quick look around the loch side and show one of the highest mountains on the southern edge of the Highlands, which is Ben Lomond, standing at over 3,000 feet. It's one of the most southern Munros in the Highland area. You see now illustrated on the map my run down the Great Glen from Fort Augustus down through Fort William, down the side of Loch Lomond and into Glasgow. This is the long straight now, making my way into Balloch, and we're coming into town of Dumbarton, my hometown. Unfortunately, the rain greeted me with a vengeance. Going over the River Clyde now, over the famous Erskine Bridge, which joins the north side of the River Clyde with the south side of the River Clyde, coming into Renfrewshire. Looking down the Clyde there. Making my way through the centre of Glasgow using the M8, one of the busiest motorways in Scotland. This often congested, but in the process of having a relief road built, you can see the contrast between the landscape I'm in now and the landscape I was in no longer than 2 hours ago in the top right hand corner there. Dropping down underneath Charing Cross here, which is a very busy part of the city. The west end part of the city here at Charing Cross, Hooker Hall Street, is one of the more academic parts and contains more artistic establishments of Glasgow. We've got the art school here, we've got the Mitchell Library, this part of Glasgow, and a lot of the artists and academics have always based themselves in this part of Glasgow. Out the other side of Glasgow now, still on the M8, making way out towards Bellshill and coming into Bellshill now. This will be the first of 8 drops on my return load back south. A load of steel, which is a normal steel plates, part of the old Chorus Steelworks, which is situated here at Moss End, out on the east side of Glasgow. I've just loaded the 8 drops onto the back of the trailer now, all ready to go, all strapped down, ready to go. As you can see, you get another load there. This is me leaving the steel plate sections now. As you see, the remainder of the old chorus site is very overgrown now, and this is the path that sort of leads round the back of the original buildings. Make my way down the Wraith into the Wraith interchange now to join the M74 and start my long journey south. This is the M74 at dusk, just crossing the Beatock summits now. This is my first drop in Carlisle. Having a bite to eat now, and on now for fuel. Getting some fuel here in the truck stop at Carnforth. As you can see, it's very, very wet, very wild night. Just one of many. This is the kind of rain I was having the night before up in Fort Augustus. Moving on south now to Preston, coming in through Preston suburbs now to my second drop. This is me outside my third drop, which is on Flint's side, GSM Engineering. This is on D side, and not the easiest of places to get a lorry in and out of. As you can see, a bit of a shambles in there, but I managed to get the lorry in and out, no trouble. Here we're down at Steel Plating Sections in Minworth, which is the parent company of Steel Plates up in Bellshill. not uncommon for me to shift stuff between the two places. As you can see, he's uploading some lengths of pipe there for me. Here's the chaps working sides steel plate sections. This particular place in Minworth mainly deals with heavy plate. Nice sunset here, making my way down the road now. Over towards Leicester. Third goal. Overnight in Leicester now. As you can see, sitting in a small industrial estate there. All quiet. Making my way out of Leicester now next morning. This is now Friday morning. And making my way southwest now, just coming back into Wales at Mornmouth, back on the M50. A very wet M4 now. This is me coming back up the Avon Valley, coming full circle, all the way back from my epic circular trip round Scotland. Coming up through the very wet, dank streets of my Stag, you can see the terraces there. Coming down into the estate now, where ALC is situated in Cumber. I've been coming full circle and back in the yard now. As you can see, we got an empty trailer, all delivered, all done. Back at ALC, mission accomplished. See what I left with, see what I bring back. Fulls out, empty back. Quite a contrast in the weather there. As you can see, there's no leaves on the trees there when I've come back, but there was leaves on the trees when I left. And there you see me sketching the full route on the map in front of us. Gives you some idea of the mileage involved and just how far up the UK ago. The mileage is somewhere in the region of 1100 miles round trip, taking 4 days, covering 3 separate countries. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching, and come back again sometime. Hopefully be able to show you around other parts of Scotland and the rest of the UK.